I'm Honor. So excited to be here with you and share from my experience on a topic that is so important, really, really important. And I'm going to teach you what I know about it. Today, we are focusing on tantruming. So some of you may have a child or several children who have frequent meltdowns, tantrums, who protest a lot, who are very big and messy in their emotions, who you struggle with to support them, or you struggle to support yourself through their tantrums. And tantrums or meltdowns, we can call them what we want, but what I mean when I say that is big, messy emotions spilling all over the place and really being out of control, someone being out of control. So this is a topic that I have a lot of experience with, a lot of firsthand experience with as a mother, as well as a lot of experience helping other parents with kids who struggle deeply to control their emotions. So we've been focusing a lot lately on deep feeling kids, big feeling kids, high needs kids. And this is a niche of mine. It's been a niche of mine for the last 20 years since I started working with families as a psychotherapist and specializing in helping moms to support kids who kind of nobody else knew how to help. That's always an area that I'm drawn to. And I do have hundreds of clients in my programs, current programs that I've worked with over the last 8 years, who have at least one spirited, high needs, intense child who they have struggled to understand how to help. So I'm going to give you a little information about tantrums and what they are, what's going on, but I'm also going to tell you the most common mistake that I see parents in today in my programs, my clients making, who are doing a great job at parenting, really just so caring, so trying so hard, and yet really missing the mark on this one thing, because it's kind of sneaky. You wouldn't suspect that this is actually something you might be doing. So stay to listen to that so that you can hear if this is something that you're needing help with. And then I'm going to talk with you about some of the strategy that I have developed over the years of helping hundreds of our clients to be an effective parent in these moments when kids are disorganized and out of control. So some of the slips, some of the pitfalls, the mistake you don't want to make, and then what you do want to be doing instead. Okay, so let's dive in. Thanks you guys for joining live. I see you coming on, and it's so good to have you here. So first, let's just describe what is a tantrum, and I want you to just drop in the comments, like, what do you see when your child is out of control, dysregulated, tantruming, melting down, and it may be like more on the sort of crying, crying, screaming, shouting end of things, and it may be more on the physical side of things, physically fighting, getting aggressive physically, or threatening, posturing. As boys get older, we do see that. If it doesn't get under control in the younger years. And so, again, as kids get older, it looks different, but you'll see something where the emotions are bigger than the kid can handle. That's essentially what we're looking for when we're talking about tantrums or meltdowns. So describe it to me in the comments, and even if I can't slow down to see it now, because I'd have to change screens, I'll look back and I can see. And then the next thing I want you to say in the chat, in the comments, is how frequent, so between 0 days a week and 7 days a week, how frequently is your intense child or your high needs child overwhelmed by their emotions? Just drop that number in the comments. Yeah, and thanks for telling me how old too. I actually can see that comment. Thanks, Elizabeth. My daughter just turned 6, and I'm trying to keep up with you also. So she's 6, and she's in that time of trying to figure out who she is outside of just being a part of you. And that's the peak of egocentrism, 5, 6, kindergarten age. So the world revolves around her right now, but without emotional regulation skills and tools, without that the frontal cortex really supporting her. That logical mind is not in place yet. We know we have a 5 and 6 year old. That comes later. So how many days a week does your child spill over, tantrum, yell, shout, protest, that kind of thing? So drop that number in the chat so I can see. And then one of the mistakes that parents make all the time. So a tantrum or a meltdown is when a kid is having big raw emotions. Their sort of logical brain is offline. You know the expression, well, we say now, like, they lost it, I lost it. But we used to say, I flipped my lid. She flipped her lid. That describes perfectly what happens in the brain. The frontal cortex, I keep wanting to say limbic brain, but that's the one that kicks in. So your frontal cortex goes offline. It kind of flips off. So instead of being here thinking and helping you think and function and be logical, when you're standing in front of a child who's screaming at you, or who's writhing on the floor, or who's throwing things, or a teenager, way scarier even, who's bigger than you, who is screaming at you or saying, I hate you, or slamming a door, it is tough. It is so tough. It's tough when they're babies screaming and you're trying to soothe them and you can't, but it's tough in a whole different way when you think this person could punch me in the face and break my nose. I've helped a lot of clients and a lot of families who were at that level where their 9-year-old boy or 11-year-old boy was hurting mom. And this, while no one talks about it, you don't even know what's going on with families around you and among you. It might be happening in your home right now where you feel afraid of your child. You might feel afraid of a 5-year-old and you know it's not logical. You could physically kind of contain them, but you're still scared. Look, I know how tough it is. I have been in a place where I did not know how to help my child calm down because she was so off the charts, frantic in her primal brain, unable to take a breath. And those times, those many years that I went through that when she was very young, have compelled me to access everything I could learn about the nervous system and brain functioning, about neuroscience, about the coaching piece, the parent support mentoring piece, the co-regulation. I mean, there was a lot I already knew before I had her about mirror neurons and co-regulation and being a grounded, safe place for my kiddo, but none of those were enough. And so I'm just here to tell you and validate you, number one, that if you're going into this without all the training that I had, 10 years of practice and training and how to regulate yourself and co-regulate with your child, and still it didn't work for me, you're probably in hot water trying to figure out what to do with your kiddo who is totally dysregulated. It's really, as I say, it's above your pay grade as a mom. If you have some professional training, if you've read some books, if you've listened to some podcasts, it's going to be way above your pay grade or your training and skill set to know how to help your child calm down in a time like that. It's really hard, and I remember how hard it was for me going through that. But it also drove me to find answers and to develop strategies. And man, I would test everything. I tested everything in real time with her, what was going to work, what wasn't going to work, digging to the root of what really was going on and what was her problem, what were her triggers and what was overstimulating her and what was inflaming her whole system. She's very inflamed in brain inflammation, like other kinds of inflammation. And it was just a wild journey into figuring out how to develop a system of easy, accessible skills and tools that would help her live and in real time to calm her body down and calm herself down. That would help me in real time to be able to be present for her. Okay, so what's really happening for parents when our kids are out of control is we're also trying desperately to hang on and stay in control. Have you been there? Do you know this? Do you know what this experience is like? You're trying to stay cool, you're trying to stay calm, and they're just pushing you and driving you, and you're going offline somewhere. You're flipping your lid somewhere. Somewhere in the process, you're just frustrated and you just want it to be over. You want them to be done freaking out. You want them to be done crying and screaming and melting down. You want to slam your door. You want to yell back at them. You want to shut the whole thing down or just torch it in flames. How do I know? It's really hard to live through these moments. I've been through so many of them myself. And I also was not willing to be a mother who stayed angry, who walked on eggshells, who was not at peace in her own home. That was not okay with me. That was nowhere in my vision for the future of my family. I wanted to have another child. I wanted to have a peaceful family. I wanted to be able to help my partner to understand how to parent our daughter in an effective way. And I needed to get my nervous system back from her. I needed to start enjoying my life again. It was starting to rule my world, this figuring out how to help her project. And so here's a mistake. This is not one that I was making a lot myself. So to be honest, it was not on my radar until I started digging deep into these strategies and teaching people the tools that I had developed in my Awakened Motherhood program. And now we dig into them in my Embodied Calm program. I have 2 programs where we're addressing all of this. So here's the piece. When moms who are like usually high achievers, usually pretty hard on themselves, usually really striving to be amazing parents and succeeding in almost all the ways. But this one area, if you don't know how to handle the kind of intensity that's coming from your kid, you'll feel like you're failing. And again, like I remember it, and also it's not your fault. It's just really damn hard. So with the kids who are really overwhelmed, your most overwhelmed, emotionally overwhelmed child, or mentally overwhelmed, or overstimulated, or reactive, or hyperactive, or sometimes it shows up as like defiance for certain kids, picking fights with their sibling. There's so many different ways I've seen it. But what happens is moms fall into a trap where they don't know how to handle the behavior or help a kid slow down or calm down or get out of that sort of spiral emotionally or behaviorally. And it's too much to tolerate. So if I can tolerate up to here, but my kid is still going, if I'm like, I'm good for, let's say I'm good for a 20-minute tantrum. Let's say I can handle 20 minutes of crazed screaming. I have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. I can handle 20 minutes, I'm good. And then in the 20th minute, boom, I've exceeded my capacity and I'm now flooded, or I'm dissociating, or I am reactive. And so when I hit that tipping point, and for some of you it might be 3 minutes, worked with a lot of parents who have like a 30-second tolerance. 30-second tolerance for a kid yelling at you, and then boom, you're in fight or flight, you're in your trauma response, you are screaming back at them, or you're yelling at them to go to their room. The mistake parents are making in this moment when you have moved past your level of tolerance is that you're trying to stop the behavior, or how it often looks, you're trying to fix it for your child. You want to find out. So what people do, and this just happened yesterday with a client on a call, you're trying in the early stages, you can see the tantrums coming, it's building, my kiddo's getting kind of crazy. So I want to find out, what do you need? And I got to fix it right now. I'm going to fix it. What do you need? I'm going to swoop in, I'm going to bend over backwards, I'm going to work double time to try to solve your problem for you. Why? Because I can see a tantrum coming down the pike, and I do not want that. I don't want that. I don't want it for you. I don't want it for me. I've got shit to do. I don't want to go there, right? Raise your hand if you've ever been there. Raise your hand if this sounds familiar and you have tried to fix a problem for your kid so that you don't wind up with messy emotions spilled all over. It's natural. It is logical, and we're doing it all the time. I am not personally doing it all the time, to clarify. But I know my clients are doing it all the time. And the reason why I don't swoop in and fix something for my kids and why I coach my moms not to is very clear. Because this is a mistake. When you swoop in and you try to fix something for them, you're trying to prevent like a bad thing happening, a tantrum happening. It's a good intention, but really you're just reading that they're building and you do not want to have to deal with those emotions. So you're trying to fix how they feel. You're trying to fix how they feel, how your daughter feels, how your son feels. You're trying to go, no, you don't need to feel that way. Instead, let's do this. So then people try to convince their kids out of their emotions. They try to sell something the kid does not want to buy. And they try to, when that fails, just make them stop. Make them stop. Be quiet. Go to your room. Go away. That's unreasonable. What's the matter with you? You need to calm down. Calm down. All the things that come out of our mouths because we don't know what else to do. Okay. So if you're listening and you're like, yes, you're ticking all these boxes. You've done all these things. It's time for a better strategy. It's time for a better strategy. When your kiddo is dysregulated, you're going to go there and you're going to match their energy, or you're going to try to fix it and shut them down so that you can survive over here, right? Okay. So what should the outcome look like? What can a better outcome look like? If you were to have the right strategy, the right steps, and the implementation of those steps, and you knew how to succeed in that strategy, if you were to have that, the outcome that is the potential outcome that is expected, I expect to see with our clients, and we do see with our clients, is that your child de-escalates fast. Your child comes out of needing to fight for their feelings, to be heard, to be seen, to be held, to be contained. And you, in your grounded, centered calm, are able to then help them to de-escalate faster by finding their own safety and sense of calm. And you guys, please stop trying to convince your kids to calm down, because that's not the way. They feel not seen, they feel not heard, they feel disconnect from you. Basically what you're saying to them is, don't do that. Oh, I don't like that, don't do that. And what you want to be doing instead is a strategy that helps them to feel seen, acknowledged, and heard. And the way to accomplish that is for you to have the right steps. You've got to do it for yourself while you're doing it for them. And there really is take care of yourself before you take care of them. When your kid is spiraling out and primal and throwing up and hyperventilating on the floor, if you have one of these intense kids, then you know I'm not exaggerating. I can remember when my daughter was maybe one. She wasn't quite one, but she was still in a crib, so she was under one. So we took her out of a crib really quickly so that she could be like, she could control her motor, she could control her experience, where she was, when, because that was really important. I just intuitively knew that for her. I can remember the time she gave herself a big goose egg and a bruise and hyperventilated until she threw up. I just heard her crying. I didn't hear, because it was around sleep and there were so many sleep challenges, and I've made my fair share of awful mistakes. I'm telling you this story because I want you to know I'm human too, and I have cried. I have cried in the dark of night many, many times in those early days before I pulled my head up and really wrapped it around, this is about her and what she needs. This is not about my pity party. This is not about me being a victim. This is not about me sleepwalking through life and how am I going to survive that. She needs help, and I need to figure out how to help her. And that's what led to the content I've been teaching now to my Awakened Motherhood clients for 8 years, and the piece that we pulled out of that is now an entire program on its own, Embodied Calm. We entrain people for 6 months of these skills that were the exact tools I developed to help my daughter to be able to function day and night, and myself to function and be a fully independent functioning human who could support her without spiraling when she spiraled. Okay, and again, like I had a lot of tools and skills at this time when she came into my life, and it was so challenging, and it wasn't enough. So I'm telling you this too, because if you aren't already like highly trained in the tools of behavior management or emotional regulation or relationship communication, like conflict resolution, like you may have some training in these things, and still it's just really, really hard. There's nothing out there that is teaching parents what I'm now teaching parents about how to gain total control over your own functioning emotionally, mentally, and physically, and then lend that or use that as a leveraging point to help your child to become self-sufficient in regulating their feelings, their thoughts, and their behaviors. Behaviors is the last. So what causes a behavior is a feeling, a need, an emotional need. So we don't want to see kids as like bad behavior. We want to see them as having an unmet need. Okay? Tell me if this is making sense. Tell me it's making sense. Oh, I hope the video is not cutting out. I hope it's okay. So I'll check back and I'll read your comments, but drop your questions now around this topic. And while you're doing that, I want to officially invite you, if you have not registered yet for my Bodywise Formula, that's the masterclass for you to get into. It's next week. It's 4 days of live sessions on Zoom. I know you don't have 4 days to be on Zoom. I hardly have 4 days to be on Zoom, but I'm showing up to teach you guys what are these tools and skills and teach you about how they work so that you can then decide to come and work with me in embodied calm. Why? Because when you let this stuff go, your kids aren't going to figure it out on their own. And they're also getting bigger all the time. And those of you who have teenagers that are now bigger than you understand that it's way harder to clean up an embedded relationship pattern when your kid is 16 than it is at 6. It just is. It's so much easier. So come and learn now. Come with an open mind. Come with your questions. And we're going to workshop them together. And I'm going to help you to figure out where your gaps are. What are you missing? And you may just get this on your own, also just from listening to replays. But we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions after the sessions. Drop them here in the Facebook group. And you will be able to, I'll drop a link so that you'll be able to register through that. And I do want you to consider coming to work with me in Embodied Calm when I talk about it next week. It is my lowest price program, and it is a 6-month stint of entraining your nervous system and these new skills so that as you're utilizing them with your kids, you are building skills. You have us on a weekly call. You're able to pull from us the expertise, and you're able to find out what pieces you're missing as you're implementing these new skills throughout your whole life, throughout your family. And this work is very fast acting. So we keep you for 6 months, not because you need 6 months to learn the skills, but because we want you to be able to marinate with us for that long. We want you to be able to marinate in how good it feels to have that container of the weekly trainings, and then the container of the live calls every week, and then your daily practice that we are strengthening and tweaking as you go. So you get so much support. I'll tell you a lot more about it next week, but come to the free introductory workshop. That's called the Bodywise Formula. It is 4 days. I will put the link in the comments. And thanks, Elizabeth. I see you're the best. Thank you. I'm just so grateful to be able to teach what has completely transformed my life for myself. I would never have been able to start my business had I not been walking the talk and figured this stuff out. And then it was so impactful for my child and her health to be able to be this kind of mom for her that I wanted everybody to have it. I just want all of you to have it. I don't require any payment for the free workshops, and I do give a lot. So the only barrier is you taking advantage of it and receiving that. So make sure you register. There is an invite to book a call with me on the confirmation page. If you are interested possibly in like turning this workshop into a real shift for you in your life, like you're not just kind of like considering things getting better at home. If you have an intense kid, you're dealing with tantrums, you're dealing with the marital conflict that comes as a byproduct of all that tension in your house, and you do want it to shift now, and you don't want to wait another year to figure this out, book a call with me and we will assess. If we haven't already talked about your kiddo before, it's a 20-minute call, and I'll help you to know how to focus during the workshop. We'll identify any gaps, and we can also kind of look ahead at the next year, and I'll let you know like what's on the horizon and what you're going to need to be paying attention to. Okay. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining this broadcast. Embodied Calm Bodywise Formula starts live on Tuesday of next week, and I believe Monday is President's Day, so a holiday. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday for that. Go ahead, click the link. I'm going to drop it in the chat now to register. And then if we haven't spoken, book your call, and I look forward to talking with you. See you guys soon.